In the 1800s, people didn't think their food was dangerous. They didn't question it. They didn't inspect it. They didn't analyze what was inside it. Because to them, food was simple. You bought it, you cooked it, you ate it, and you moved on. But what if the food you relied on every single day was quietly working against you? Not immediately, not in a way you could clearly see, but slowly, consistently, over time. Because the truth is, in the Victorian era, danger wasn't always obvious. It didn't always come from rare or exotic things. It came from the ordinary, from the meals people trusted the most, the meals they ate every single day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. The foods that felt safe were often the ones causing the most harm. And the most unsettling part? People didn't just eat these foods once. They ate them constantly, day after day, year after year, which meant the effects didn't happen all at once. They built up, quietly, inside the body, until something changed, until symptoms appeared, until health began to decline. But by then, it was too late to connect the dots, because no one suspected the food. No one looked at their plate and thought, this is the problem. Because everything looked normal. Everything felt familiar. Everything seemed safe. And that illusion is what made it so dangerous. Because when something becomes part of your daily routine, you stop questioning it. You stop analyzing it. You stop noticing it. And that's exactly what happened. Entire populations were eating the same types of meals, prepared in similar ways, sold under similar conditions, with the same hidden risks. But those risks weren't visible. They weren't labeled. They weren't explained. They were simply there, embedded in the system, hidden in plain sight. And because of that, the damage wasn't obvious. It wasn't immediate. It wasn't dramatic. It was slow, subtle, cumulative. A gradual decline rather than a sudden event, which made it even harder to detect, and even harder to stop, because you can't avoid something if you don't even know it exists. Now imagine waking up in the 1800s, not knowing any of this, just living your life, following your routine, eating what everyone else eats, trusting what everyone else trusts, believing that your food is safe, because why wouldn't it be? And yet, from the very first meal of the day, the process had already begun. A process you couldn't see, couldn't taste, couldn't feel immediately, but one that was there, every single day. So let's break it down, meal by meal, starting with something simple, something most people didn't think twice about: breakfast. Because what people ate in the morning often set the tone for everything that followed. And in many cases, it was already a problem before the day had even begun. Morning in the Victorian era didn't begin with questions. It began with routine. People woke up early, prepared for the day ahead. And like today, they started with breakfast, a simple meal, familiar, comforting, something that felt safe. But beneath that simplicity, there was something else, something people couldn't see and didn't expect. A typical breakfast wasn't extravagant, especially for the working class. It was modest, practical, built around what was available and what was affordable: bread, milk, sometimes a bit of butter, maybe porridge. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming, just everyday food. And that's exactly what made it dangerous, because each of these items carried its own risk, not extreme on its own, but combined, repeated daily, the effects began to build. Let's start with tea, one of the most consumed drinks of that time. People drank it every day, often multiple times. It was seen as refreshing, comforting, almost essential. But what most people didn't know was that the tea they were drinking wasn't always fresh. Used tea leaves were often collected, dried, and then resold, over and over again, to make them look new. They were sometimes treated, dyed, enhanced with substances that improved color, made them appear richer, darker, stronger. But those substances weren't always safe. In some cases, they contained harmful compounds, even traces of toxic materials, which meant that every cup wasn't just tea, it was something altered, something recycled, something no one would have chosen if they had known the truth. And yet, people drank it daily, without hesitation, because it looked right, it tasted close enough, and there was no reason to doubt it. Now add milk to that. Milk was a common addition to tea, especially in cities. But as we've already seen, milk itself was a problem, often diluted, sometimes taken from unhealthy animals, sometimes altered, to improve its appearance, to hide its condition, which meant that even something as simple as tea with milk became unpredictable. Then there was bread, almost always present, a staple, something people relied on, something that filled them up. But that bread was not always what it seemed. Flour could be mixed, altered, modified to increase profit, to improve appearance, to meet demand. So with every bite, there was uncertainty, even if no one realized it. And then butter, if available, a small addition, something that made the meal feel more complete. But butter could also be affected, stored improperly, mixed, sometimes extended with other fats, lower quality substitutes. Yet, nothing obvious, nothing immediately noticeable, but enough to contribute, enough to matter over time. Individually, each part of this breakfast seemed harmless, even normal, but together, consumed every single day, they formed a pattern, a routine that introduced small risks, over and over again, which is what made it so effective. Not because it was immediately dangerous, but because it wasn't, because it allowed people to continue, to repeat the same habits, without interruption, without suspicion, without awareness. And as the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, those small exposures didn't disappear. They accumulated, quietly, gradually, until the effects began to show. But by that point, breakfast was just breakfast, nothing more, nothing unusual, nothing to question. And that's what made it so dangerous, because the day didn't start with a risk, it started with a habit, and that habit was already working against them. By midday, the routine continued, but the stakes began to rise, because lunch was different. It wasn't just about something quick or light. It was often the most substantial meal of the day, something that needed to provide energy, strength, enough to keep working, especially for those in physically demanding jobs. And to get that, people turned to heavier foods, more filling meals, and often, that meant meat. But unlike breakfast, lunch was more exposed to the outside world, more dependent on markets, on sellers, on what was available that day, which introduced a new layer of uncertainty. Because now, people weren't just consuming food, they were trusting strangers, trusting that what was being sold was what it appeared to be. Imagine walking through a crowded Victorian market, stalls lined up closely together, voices calling out, sellers promoting their goods. Everything seems active, busy, alive. At first glance, feels normal, even reassuring, because there is abundance, choice, movement. But look closer, and things begin to change. Meat hanging in the open air, exposed to heat, to dust, to insects, with no real protection, no refrigeration, no proper storage, just time, slowly working against it. And in that environment, spoilage was inevitable, sometimes fast, sometimes subtle, but always present. And sellers knew this. They understood how quickly their product could lose value. And once it spoiled, it couldn't be sold, at least not honestly. So instead, they adapted. They found ways to keep it sellable, to maintain the illusion of freshness, to avoid losing profit. One of the most common methods was treating the meat, using substances that could mask the signs of decay, reduce the smell, preserve the color, make it appear acceptable, even when it wasn't. Formaldehyde, boric acid, chemicals that had no place in food, but were used anyway, because they worked. They didn't fix the meat. They didn't make it safe. They simply made it look safe. And for many customers, that was enough, because most people judged food by appearance, by smell, by what they could observe in the moment. And if those signals seemed normal, there was no reason to question it. So they bought it, took it home, cooked it, served it, without knowing what had been done to it. And what made this even more dangerous was that cooking often hid the problem. Heat changed the texture, altered the smell, blended everything together. So even if something was slightly off, it wasn't always noticeable, which meant the warning signs disappeared, and the meal continued as usual. But meat wasn't the only issue. Other foods sold in markets carried risks too. Prepared dishes, left out for hours, handled repeatedly, exposed to the same conditions. Bread sold alongside everything else, produced quickly, in large quantities, sometimes under questionable conditions. Even simple items could become unpredictable. And once again, this wasn't about one bad purchase or one mistake. It was about repetition, daily exposure, a system that operated without clear limits, without oversight, without accountability, where appearance was often enough, and reality could be something entirely different. So lunch, what should have been a reliable source of energy, became something else, a moment where multiple risks came together, from different sources, different practices, different decisions made behind the scenes, all converging into a single meal, a meal that people trusted, because they had to, because questioning everything wasn't realistic, because there were no alternatives, and because life had to continue. Work had to be done. Food had to be eaten, regardless of what might be hidden within it. And so the routine went on, day after day, meal after meal, with no clear sign of what was really happening beneath the surface. By evening, the day was coming to an end. Work was done. Energy was low, and people returned home, expecting something familiar, something that felt safe. Dinner. For many families, this was the most important meal of the day, not just for nourishment, but for comfort, for routine, for a sense of normal life. After everything the day demanded, dinner was supposed to restore balance. But in the Victorian era, that sense of safety was often an illusion, because by the time evening arrived, the body had already been exposed to multiple risks. Breakfast, lunch, small, unnoticed factors, already accumulating beneath the surface. And dinner didn't reset that. It added to it. A typical evening meal varied, depending on income, on availability, on location. But certain patterns remained consistent. Leftover meat from earlier in the day, bread, vegetables, sometimes soups or stews, meals that were practical, efficient, designed to stretch what little was available. But leftovers came with their own problems. Without refrigeration, food didn't keep well. Even over a few hours, bacteria continued to grow. Conditions continued to change. But throwing food away wasn't an option. For many families, that would have been unthinkable. So instead, food was reused, reheated, repurposed, often multiple times, which increased the risk, quietly, without obvious signs. Because reheating didn't remove danger. It didn't eliminate what had already developed. It simply made the food warm again, and more acceptable to eat. Then there were stews, a common solution, a way to combine ingredients, to make use of scraps, to create something filling, something that could feed multiple people. But stews also allowed something else, everything to blend together, different cuts of meat, different vegetables, different conditions, all mixed into one, which made it impossible to identify any single problem. Something was off. It disappeared into the hole, hidden by flavor, by texture, by heat. And again, there was no clear signal to stop, no obvious warning, just a meal that seemed normal and was eaten as usual. Vegetables, too, were not always safe, as we've seen. Some were treated to improve appearance, to make them look fresher, brighter, more appealing, even when they weren't. Substances added for visual effect, not for safety, which meant that even something considered healthy could carry its own risk. And by this point in the day, the body wasn't dealing with a single exposure, it was dealing with many, layered together, accumulated, repeated over time. And this is where the real impact began to show. Not immediately, not in a dramatic way, but gradually, a sense that something wasn't right, fatigue that didn't go away, digestive discomfort, recurring illness, symptoms that were easy to dismiss at first, easy to explain, or stress, conditions of life. But as time passed, those explanations became less convincing, because the symptoms remained, they persisted, they intensified, and yet, the cause remained unclear, because no one was looking at the full picture. No one was connecting breakfast, lunch, and dinner as part of the same system, the same pattern, the same source of exposure. Everything was viewed separately, in isolation, which made it almost impossible to see what was really happening. And that's what made the entire situation so dangerous. It wasn't one meal. It wasn't one product. It wasn't one decision. It was repetition, consistency, a routine that introduced risk, over and over again, until the effects became unavoidable. And by the time they did, the damage had already been done, not in a single moment, but over days, weeks, months, sometimes years. All through something that felt completely normal, completely routine, completely safe. Dinner wasn't the problem by itself, but it completed the cycle. A cycle that started in the morning, continued through the day, and ended at night, only to begin again the next day, unchanged, unquestioned, unnoticed. And for many people, that cycle never broke, because they had no reason to believe it needed to, until the consequences made it impossible to ignore. By the end of the day, nothing seemed unusual, nothing seemed dangerous, nothing felt out of place. People ate, they worked, they lived their lives, just like any other time. And yet, behind that normal routine, there was something deeper, something that connected everything we've talked about. Because this wasn't just about individual foods. It wasn't just about milk, or bread, or meat, or anything specific. It was about a system where appearance mattered more than reality, where profit often came before safety, where there were no consistent rules, no enforced standards, no real accountability. And in that kind of environment, the outcome wasn't random, it was inevitable. Because when there are no limits, practices don't stay safe, they drift, they change. They push boundaries until something goes wrong. And often, it doesn't go wrong all at once. It goes wrong slowly, quietly, in ways that are difficult to detect, difficult to prove, and even more difficult to stop. That's what made this period so dangerous. Not the obvious risks, but the hidden ones, the ones embedded in everyday life, the ones people accepted without question, because they had no reason not to, and no way to know better. But over time, things began to shift, not suddenly, not dramatically, but gradually, as more people became aware, as patterns started to emerge, as questions were finally asked. Writers began documenting what they saw. Scientists started investigating. Reformers pushed for change. And slowly, the idea of food safety began to take shape. Regulations were introduced. Standards were created. Inspections became more common. Not perfect, not immediate, but enough to begin changing the system. Enough to create consequences. And once consequences exist, behavior starts to change, practices start to improve, and over time, what was once normal becomes unacceptable. But that shift didn't happen on its own. It happened because of everything that came before. Every hidden practice, every unnoticed exposure, every person affected, before anyone fully understood what was happening. And that's what makes this story important today, because it's easy to assume that what we eat is safe, that everything has been checked, verified, regulated, and in many cases, that assumption is justified. But it exists because of history like this, because of a time when none of those protections existed, when trust was all people had, and trust wasn't always enough. So the next time you sit down to eat, something simple, something familiar, something you don't even think about, remember this: there was a time, not that long ago, when meals that looked completely normal could quietly work against you, without warning, without suspicion, without you ever knowing why. And millions of people lived that reality every single day, because for them, food wasn't just nourishment, it was survival, even when that survival came at a cost they couldn't see, couldn't measure, and couldn't avoid, because the system they depended on was never designed to protect them, only to serve them, just enough to keep everything going, and nothing more.